Just off State Route 980 in the hills of southwest Pennsylvania, you'll find it. The tiny town of McDonald is home to 2,200 hardworking people and the hometown of 2 head coaches in the National Football League.
I was born in a small town.
That is probably, I guess, our claim to fame at the where's McDonald? Well, you mentioned it's a home of Marvin and Marty, and that McDonald.
The kids in McDonald go to Fort Cherry High School, and in 1961, the Rangers won a state title in basketball thanks to an undersized center, number 54, Marty Schottenheimer. 15 years after, the now head coach of the San Diego Chargers moved on and left McDonald, a young Marvin Lewis hit the halls of Fort Cherry as a senior in 1976. Marvin Roland Lewis made a name for himself in McDonald a long time before he was a 3-sport star in high school. He spent hours as a kid on these fields that are just on the edge of town. And even then, Lewis was a standout football and baseball player. His old coaches say he wasn't necessarily always the best player on the team, just the kind of player every team and every coach wanted to have.
You know, he played quarterback for us, he played linebacker, played some defensive back, and he always had the walk, like he really knew what he was doing, and he was under control at all times. And he was, like I said, it was just nice to see him.
Walked with a purpose.
Walk with a purpose.
We won a lot of games with him squeeze bunting a runner in from third base. Yeah. He always performed it with perfection. Yeah. And that's what he was a perfectionist.
Jerry is on student council.
Well, he wasn't the president.
Oh, he's vice president. Yeah, McCaffrey was president.
Marvin was vice president.
Marvin was the vice president.
Student Council, National Honor Society, chairman of the Science Club, and ironically, Lewis even got his first taste of TV at Fort Cherry in a television production class. If anything, those who knew him best say Marvin Lewis was focused, a good student athlete who made himself better with hard work.
There's no dirt on Marv, you know. He's always just been the same good guy.
At Fort Cherry, Lewis played baseball, even wrestled, but he found his future in football as an all-conference quarterback for head coach Jim Gary. Assistant coaches remember Marvin Lewis as the most prepared player on the field. Lewis would even show up at the head coach's house and ask to watch film and go over the game plan. Preparation that paid off on game day.
I remember it was right down here in the corner, and can't remember who we were playing. But they had some kind of offense, and Jim come up with this scheme about doing something, and they hurry up and they call their timeout, and he's come out and he goes, "I know Mr. Gary, I know Mr. Gary," and that's when Jim would look at him and say, "Oh, Marvin, you're scary."
This is the exact practice field, yeah. I mean, it's worn out now, and it was worn out then, but maybe Marvin can get us some field turf or something.
These days, the Rangers play for Jim Gary's son, Tim. 4 years behind Lewis in school, Gary remembers a lot about number 11 for the 76 Rangers. He says he won't forget the special relationship Lewis had with his dad, Jim Gary. And he knows Lewis hasn't forgotten him or Fort Cherry.
A couple years ago, we were playing a playoff game, semifinals here in the WPIL, and we weren't sure what to do defensively. So we called Marvin up. He scripted a couple things, had them faxed over to us, and, you know, we told the kids that in the pregame. He says not many people have those types of resources to be able to go to an NFL defensive coordinator at that time and help them with their game plan.
Most of the folks here in town say not much has changed in McDonald since Marvin Lewis grew up here in the 70s. And they say, as far as they can tell, the kid they called Marv hasn't changed much either, which they think is a big reason for the success he's had as a football coach.
I have a saying that I used during my principalship years: we're FC, we're first class. And even though Marvin was before that time, he kind of embodies that type of idea.
When I found out he got the job and I got a call from a newspaper in Cincinnati, I said that if anyone can turn around a floundering franchise, I think it's Marvin.
Downtown, the First Baptist Church, where Marvin Lewis and his family spent Sundays, has been part of McDonald for more than 100 years. But in this part of the country, folks also worship the Pittsburgh Steelers. Only family friend Floyd Edmonds at Edmonds Trucking pulled out a Bengals cap and admitted his steadfast support for Cincinnati whenever he can catch him on TV.
We don't get him much here, but every time I can, you know, I turn it on, and my girlfriend's a big Steeler fan, you know, and I have to go to another room.
People ask me around the country, am I a Steeler fan? I tell them I am, but I'm a Marvin Lewis fan, because if anybody's a good guy that deserves it, you know, he is, and it's hard not to be a fan of Marvin.
I think it was last year. We go in to see the Bengals play the Steelers. All of a sudden, there comes Marv. He must have been about 20 yards away, and I hollered, "Hey, Marv." And it was funny. It was like time stopped. He went like this. He stopped. He turned around, and I had a Steeler jacket on. And he just started laughing. He come over. We shook our hand. He goes, "Hey, Mr. A, you got the wrong coat on." I said, "Yes, I do, Marv." I said, "But there's 2 times a year I root for you guys, and you know what the 2 are." He said, "Thanks, Mr. A." But I mean, that's Marvin.